Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from January 6th until the 13th. We have a lot happening over this next week. Every personal planet changes signs. We have a powerful Capricorn New Moon. We have action and energy, and we're going to see a lot of direct forward-moving energy in the second half of January. So a lot to discuss and go over here in today's podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a quick programming note that there was no podcast on January 4th, or rather it was not released. And just to explain a bit about that, I recorded part 2 of Saturn squaring Uranus energies. And this was channeled information that came through around the significance of this ongoing square between Saturn and Uranus. And what came through was a lot of Atlantis energies. A lot about how Atlantis energies are the ones that are collapsing. But what came through was actually really intense. And I didn't realize it even until after I had recorded the show. And as I was about to release it, I felt energetically a very clear stop, halt, not yet, it's not time. So part of my job is to trust that. Even when I don't understand why, I have no reason, I have no clear understanding other than the energy isn't correct for it. So I will release that podcast episode when the energy shifts and when it is time. But I just wanted to let you know that that's what happened on that January 4th podcast episode. So for this week's show, we're going to get started by talking about how Mars is out of its retrograde shadow zone, and Mars is now entering Taurus, the second sign of the zodiac and the first Earth sign. So as Mars was in Aries, we were getting clearer on the new beginnings that we're ready to start. Mars is very strong in Aries. It's where we have the courage to do something new, where we want to get going. It is very energetic, and its desire is to move. There's a desire to get things going. But with this retrograde, of course, there was work to be done. Mars in Aries required us to look at things at a deeper level, especially as it met up with the 3 planets that were in Capricorn, where we had to do some deeper work, some deeper reality checks about who we are now, what we want, and what we're ready to really start in this cycle of our lives. Mars takes about 2 years to go through the full zodiac, so it is beginning a new 2-year cycle, but we had to basically do a lot of recalibrating in order to start on the right foot or even on a higher frequency. Some of the gifts of the Mars in Aries retrograde was that it did give you time to integrate, to have a higher consciousness around what you want to go for right now. And it also asked us to trust the timing. So now that Mars is entering Taurus, we are ready to look at what has legs. So Aries energy wants to initiate and get going. And then the Taurus energy comes in and says, okay, what's practical? What's reasonable? What can we really commit to? So when these two energies work together, they can really get going on something in a very strong manner. So this Mars in Taurus is bringing you grounding around what you're ready to start, and it wants you to go slow. Mars doesn't normally want to go slow, but Taurus is a slow and steady paced energy. It is determined, it is strong, it often knows what it wants, and it will see something through until the end, but it won't try to push anything forward, and it won't speed ahead. So here we have a pacing energy. We're needing to pace ourselves. What can you do each day that is moving you towards what you want for the future? Now, this is also a very important theme because Mars in Taurus is going to be interacting with the planets in Aquarius over the next few months. And Mars is also going to interact with every outer planet over the next 2 months. So we have a very busy Mars who's ready to move something ahead, but this is where we have to trust the energy, not try to push it, not try to force it, and look at what is showing up in front of us that requires our energy. So as this Mars in Taurus interacts with 3 planets in Aquarius, specifically it's going to interact with Mercury in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Aquarius. This is where we're making sure that what we're doing now is going to serve us for the long term? Is this where you want to go? Is this the vision? Is this the bigger dream that you're building? And there could be some slowdowns or some halts for you to check in and see, is this really what I want? Because that Taurus energy is putting you in alignment with what you really want. And the Aquarius energy is providing the mental clarity around that vision and what is possible in this lifetime. Now, I feel like the strong Aquarius energy, which we're going to be talking about for most of this year, is also strongly activating other timelines of the future. Your future self, your future dreams that can be very much in the present right now. It's sort of like even astral travel, or you have a dream or you have a vision that doesn't feel like it's of this era or it's of this reality. It's from a different time and place, but the energy is very present right now. More of that is going to be activated, and it's also going to be getting stronger here in the second half of January, because we're also seeing Mercury moving into Aquarius, and this is happening on January 8th. Mercury in Aquarius is very much about the bigger picture. It's very creative. It can put together new ideas. It can bring together more things that maybe you didn't see before in your own life. And also I feel that this Mercury in Aquarius energy is going to be activating more of our third eye chakra energies. I feel it polishing the third eye because Mercury is going to be going retrograde in Aquarius the end of January. It's going to be retrograde January 30th until February 21st. And this is where the energy gets reworked. And again, I feel it very strongly in that third eye chakra, very much like polishing a diamond or polishing a stone, where there can be more understanding of what's possible for you in this year and even in this lifetime. So this Mercury in Aquarius is especially strong because of how it's going to be working with Saturn and Jupiter, and it's going to be going retrograde. So there's something we're really meant to understand about ourselves and who we are as Mercury moves through Aquarius January 8th into the middle of March. I'm also seeing that it opens up new pathways in our lives, new doorways that weren't even visible previously. Aquarius wants us to go higher, wants us to move above and beyond the horizon, above and beyond what we thought was possible. It is associated with air travel, for example. So think of a plane taking off and how it soars up and it needs to reach altitude and it can be above the clouds. This is the energy. It's meant to take you higher, to give you a higher perspective about what you can focus on, build, and create in this lifetime that you probably weren't aware of. And that's because of Mercury's interactions with Saturn and Jupiter. So bigger visions, clearer visions, even manageable next steps are all possible. And this is a good theme to know because you can get ideas, downloads, and information streaming in really quickly with Mercury in Aquarius. And you might need to ground it, meaning write it down, put it somewhere so that you don't forget it. Because I feel like there's this bright opening all around us that actually is coming into the third eye chakra. I'm seeing it as a rainbow coming into the third eye chakra. And it's meant to show you more of what you can do right now and going forward. So it feels very significant. And I'm actually going to say that I think that this Mercury retrograde has a lot of benefits to it. And that's because Mercury does well in air signs, and it helps us, again, rethink, reconsider, reprioritize. But this feels encouraging. There's something about this upcoming Mercury retrograde that could really help, and it just feels beneficial. So we'll talk more about that as it gets closer. Mercury retrograde starts January 30th. So we've talked about Mars in Taurus beginning, Mercury in Aquarius beginning, and then we also have Venus entering Capricorn on January 8th. Now, Venus in Capricorn tends to be very dignified, and she is able to take stock and take inventory of her life, of what is best for her, of what she needs and what she doesn't need. Mercury in Capricorn is where we can refine. We can have some understanding around what do I need, what is essential, what is worth my energy. And this can also be where you have a retraction in energies that aren't correct for you. If there have been certain relationships that have been very draining, very dramatic, very intense, very emotional, very heavy, Venus in Capricorn basically says, I have some other things I need to focus on right now, and I'm not going to put my time, energy, and attention into these matters at this time. So she pulls back and really has some strong boundaries around where she will interact with people, around what she has time for, and what she'll participate in. Venus in Capricorn is a no drama zone. It doesn't want any big emotions or excessive interactions. Venus in Capricorn will lean back in her chair, look around, and determine what is best for her to focus on now. She can be very productive, very efficient. She really wants to do something worthwhile in Capricorn. So she's really bringing us back into a sense of what we want right now, especially in terms of your purpose, your work, your career, what feels good to you, what you're ready to build and what you want to manifest. She's a very good ally for understanding what is a priority right now. Venus in Capricorn can also be a mentor showing up, someone who embodies that Venus in Capricorn energy, whether it's someone who can show you the ropes, who has information to share, who can guide you, who can provide assistance. She wants to share with you what she's learned, what she's seen, and she wants it to be beneficial. So keep in mind that Venus in Capricorn is going to affect relationship dynamics because she just doesn't have time for everything and everyone. And she's going to have to basically, it's like, you close the office door when you need alone time. You close the door to say, I'm not available for this. I'm not available for drama. I'm not available even to take care of everyone. Because I feel like what's important right now is that this energy is really supporting a deeper understanding of what you want in your life, especially after the big changes of 2020. And I feel like this retraction is very important. Now keep in mind the sun is also in Capricorn, which can keep us laser focused on what we want next and where we're going. And so there's something here where we're really meant to honor our own energy in a way that doesn't drain you, doesn't distract you, and doesn't take you away from your center. I feel like there's a centering, grounding energy right now that we're really able to tap into, especially when we look at how this energy is building up to a very powerful new moon on January 12th. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. We have a focal point of energies in Capricorn and Aquarius right now. And if you look in your chart, you're going to see that basically between the middle degrees of Capricorn until about the first, we'll call it decan of Aquarius. So between 15 degrees of Capricorn up until 9 degrees of Aquarius, there are 5 planets hanging out. We have the Sun, Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, and then Venus in Capricorn is coming into the party. But this is a focal point of energies that we're really meant to take seriously and pay attention to. So in your own natal chart, you would be looking at where you have the middle to late degrees of Capricorn and the early degrees of Aquarius. And this is where your energy is really being required to be aware of yourself, to have understanding of this part of your life, to know what's happening here, to understand what you need to take charge of, what you need to change, what you need to really put time and effort towards, because this is where we are formulating new starts and new beginnings that are going to be growing throughout 2021. And then, of course, we're building up to a very strong Capricorn New Moon at 23 degrees. Now, before we get to that, I do want to talk about how Mercury in Aquarius is going to be quite active as it makes a conjunction to Jupiter in Aquarius at 5 degrees and then makes a sextile to Chiron in Aries at 5 degrees. This is a Mercury that's going to have a lot of ideas, information, communications, things happening, maybe even quickly, especially on January 11th and January 12th. These are busy days. These are busybody days. These are days when there could just be a lot in front of you, a lot of emails, a lot of information. But I feel like it's very advantageous because it's working with Jupiter and Chiron in a lovely manner where we're going to have solutions. There's going to be understandings. There's going to be a yes. This is like a yes, I want this. Yes, this is for me. Yes, I'm going to go towards this. This is a really good day for projects, contracts, communications, announcements, things that you want to share, things that you want to get going, things that you want to start and move towards. January, I'm going to call it January 10th, 11th, and 12th, 3 days, okay? That there's going to be a lot of movement here. And if you have something that shows up for you that is really true for you, maybe it even seems too good to be true. This is where the universe is showing us these new potentials, these new opportunities, and what you're ready to create and move towards. And within this energy, we have the new moon at 23 degrees of Capricorn. I have a separate video for you on YouTube that talks about this chart, that talks about more of the dynamics of this energy, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But what is really significant about this new moon is that it's at 23 degrees of Capricorn, which is where we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction last January 2020. And now we have a new moon here that's still conjunct Pluto. It's asking you to look at how have you permanently changed over the past year? What has shifted for you that has actually been a redirection in your life of what you want to move towards. It could be the soul mission or the soul work or a sense of purpose, something that you feel even really motivated about. Like there's a passion here, there's a drive, there's a sense of, yes, I want this, but it's because of what's opened up over the past year. Pluto is always about permanent life changes. It's always where things shift for us in a very dramatic way often, and it's meant to put us into a new trajectory of potentials. I believe that the title of the video on YouTube was, I called it a new evolutionary starting point. And that's because there is new energy coming in that's now opening up where you can move towards something in your life because of the changes of the past year. And it's requiring you to have greater strength. It's requiring you to have greater mastery over your life. There's a new sense of ownership coming in and coming through with this January 12th Capricorn New Moon. Ownership over the fact that you are the creator of your life. Every area of your life is energetically connected to you. How are you managing it? How are you handling it? How are you being responsible? And this is where we had to go through some very, big life changes that revealed to us what was not true, what was not good enough, what wasn't the higher path. And so the falling away was essential. The removal, the extraction, the renovations have been really important because it's then opened up basically new terrain of possibilities, new energies that we can now build with and really have greater clarity around what we want. It's a very powerful new moon because it's working with your part of your chart that has undergone some of the most drastic changes. And so now we're getting these new downloads and these new light codes of a birthing energy, of a birthing and a moving forward, of what are you going to create now in this space that has opened up for you. And it could also be different than even what you think it is at the new moon. And what I mean by that is we have Mercury in Aquarius squaring Uranus retrograde in Taurus. We have Venus in Capricorn squaring Chiron in Aries at 5 degrees. These are shifts in what we have viewed around ourselves and what we thought was possible in our lives. I feel like there's a potential removal of limitations. Like I'm seeing a fence falling down. And oftentimes a fence means a boundary, but I'm seeing this fence as a fear or something that was out of reach or out of grasp. And it's like that fence has fallen down and it's now there's this wide open field of what you can experience, but you could have fears around moving beyond that fence. A fence can be a comfort zone, right? It defines the territory. Okay, I know what's mine. This is what is in my energy. And as that fence falls down, I feel like what opens up could even feel overwhelming at first. But then it's exciting. But then it's motivating. Sort of like the certainty has been removed because there is something limiting about that fenced-in yard. And so now there's openings that are going to continue throughout 2021. And this impactful new moon can reveal to you more around what is possible, what you can build, where you can go, that even if it feels overwhelming or even if it feels like it's not possible. I know that's a very interesting thing that's coming up, but it's almost like our doubt creeps in. And it's part of our ego, of our fear, and where we want to protect ourselves. Because again, the fence or the illusion of a fence can feel like a safety zone. Not only is it a comfort zone, it's a safety zone. And then when the fence is gone, it can feel like you're exposed or that something's really open, it's very vulnerable, it's very raw, but then it's open. And as that becomes normal, there's a flow. There's a flow that comes in. Okay, and they're showing this to me as a heart energy, also as a mental energy, where we could have some areas of our mind, areas of our heart that were limited, that were kept safe, that were in a comfort zone, that needed a certain environment in order to feel maybe in control, maybe to feel powerful, maybe to feel like this is what I know. But then this fence collapsing or this fence falling down is an area for new growth, for new expansion, for new potentials. But at first, it can feel scary. And that's okay. It's absolutely okay to have those doubts, to have that uncertainty, to have the fear. So normal. We're human. Of course, that's going to be part of our process. And I feel like part of what we're being gifted with here is that these Aquarius energies are keeping us focused on the higher path. And so if you're feeling some shifting in your mental space or in your heart space, if you're feeling these openings and it feels a little fearful and you have doubts and again, things are coming up that you're kind of wrestling with, it's all right to be in that part of a process, almost to relax into it, right? Of like, okay, this is what I'm moving through right now, but it's not going to stay this way as long as your intention is to move forward and as long as your intention is created to that higher path or that bigger dream for yourself. It's interesting because what I'm feeling is that these strong Aquarius energies are lifting us out of a reality or a limitation that we weren't even aware of. It's lifting us up onto this higher pathway, a higher trajectory, and it's reminding us to stay there. Like stay in that place of where you're going and what you want, because things can come together really quickly to make these visions, these ideals, a new reality. So it's almost like timeline jumping or moving back and forth between a few different realities, and that's part of the growth right now. There's a lot of dynamic energy here in January. And for those of you who are in my January Soul Growth Astrology webinar, I go through more of these energies. So if you want to know more of the specifics of January, be sure and check that out. Details are below the podcast. But keep in mind that a lot of January is pushing us forward. It's like ready or not, this is what we're moving into. This is what we're moving towards. And it's going to be many things. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be filled with hope and optimism. And we're going to have fears and doubts. There's going to be a sense of, yes, this is right for me. I can feel it. This is what I want. I know it's going to happen. And then there can be those small little messages or little voices that pop up that question that certainty. So know that this is kind of part of what January is. It's like massaging. It's like, okay, we're moving back and forth between different parts of ourselves where something was certain and then something was uncertain. And I feel like what we're doing is this really beautiful growth and a really beautiful expansion. And again, I'm feeling it in the heart. I'm feeling it in the mind. I'm also feeling it in the solar plexus, where there's a strengthening of self and there's a strengthening of personal power. Now, this is also related to the sun in Capricorn, and the sun is going to make a conjunction to Pluto on January 13th and 14th, right after that powerful new moon. So this middle period of January is really asking you to step into more of the truth of who you are now. And even if there are things that you're still working through or figuring out, or it doesn't feel quite strong, it's going to gain strength, gain confidence, and gain momentum over the next few months, especially. And I think one of the deeper energies that's being reprogrammed within us is being activated by this Mars in Taurus, which is bringing up where you feel worthy of what's for your best and highest good, which is the Aquarius energies. And I think just what I'm feeling here is that we're looking at where we have limited ourselves because we didn't think something was possible. We didn't think we could experience it, or we had a lower level of self-understanding that is falling away now. And now there's the potential to call in some of these, it feels like deeper and truer energies of worthiness, of self-love, of feeling that you can absolutely have what you want, especially when it's connected to what's in your heart, what's connected to your soul's intentions and your soul's mission in this lifetime. There's this opening energy that could be what is testing you. You could feel tested or challenged by your own capacity to expand, by your own ability to grow. This is very evolutionary energy, and it's working with us at multiple levels of our consciousness. And it's important to be aware of it because of how it can set up this year ahead, about how it can open you up to new possibilities and new potentials because of your own willingness to expand, to grow, to evolve. And it's funny, it's your own willingness to trust the fact that if a fence has fallen down, if there's been an opening for you, that it's absolutely right on time. And it means that there are then bigger energies coming in to support that growth and expansion. And as I mentioned, I also feel this as a deeper activation of the third eye chakra, of opening up the vision of your life and opening up to more of your own spiritual gifts, your own intuition, your own ability to tap into who you are as a unique soul, and what you are capable of doing for yourself and in your life. I mean, it does feel very big. And I see this energy as the third eye being a diamond, and there's this rainbow of energy coming in to polish it, invigorate it, support it. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. And it also is bringing in new ways of activating your soul's energies. It's almost like a FedEx delivery from your soul to your third eye chakra. Okay, things are coming through. The carriers are bringing messages. And if you can ground it, meaning you can run the energy down into your body, into your heart, into your solar plexus, into your root chakra, you can really ground it in yourself. That's going to help it really be certain and confident in you. That's also what's going to help with the next manifestations. So a very dynamic week as we see Mars entering Taurus, Mercury entering Aquarius, where it will stay until the middle of March, and Venus entering Capricorn, in addition to the Capricorn New Moon. So a lot is happening right now. I hope that you're feeling it in a positive way, even if it's a push, even if it's a little uncomfortable, and you're moving outside of a comfort zone. This is a time to trust it and to move into these new parts of yourself that are opening up. This is also one of the gifts of astrology, is that we can understand these cycles and these themes as they arise. Now, also coming up, we're going to see Uranus stationing direct on January 14th. I'll talk more about that in next week's show. But as Uranus stations direct, all planets are direct for 2 weeks until Mercury retrograde starts at the end of January. And again, this is part of that energy moving you forward, showing you where you can go, where you can grow, what's coming up for you. And to know that a lot of this year could feel very, very different than 2020. And I know that for many, that's a wonderful thing, but just know that it requires us to keep going in new directions and to stay open to the fact that we don't know it all, but we can trust ourselves. Even when you don't know anything for certain, you can still trust what is correct for you and what you're feeling in your own energies. As always, thank you so much for joining me for this weekly show. I greatly appreciate your time, energy, and connection. I will be back with another podcast episode every Monday and Wednesday. And you can also check out my YouTube channel, where you'll find numerous playlists about astrology and other spiritual topics. If you're interested in taking an astrology course with me, please go check out mollymccord.online, where you'll find the latest offerings, including the 2021 Soul Growth Astrology Webinar with all of the astrology for the full year. Thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful day ahead and a very powerful, encouraging Capricorn New Moon. I will see you back here very soon.